Hello, my name is Mighty Blue Justice. I am an outfit leader and I play on the Soltech server for the Thunder Cougar Falconbirds. And I've somehow taken it upon myself to document this season of Outfit Wars for my server. So last week I introduced the outfits and covered the results of the week 1 qualifiers. And this week I'm going to cover the results of week 2's qualifying round, and I'm going to make some predictions for week 3, which will be the first round of playoffs, as well as just where I think the ladders are going to end up overall. I'm going to avoid talking about the design of Outfit Wars. There's plenty of other people who are having that conversation better than I am. I might talk about it in a later video from my perspective as an outfit leader, but that's not for today. On to last weekend's matches. So, match 1 we had last week, and I will pull up the roster. Magic. So match 1 we had last week, we had Stim versus The Last Ravens versus 80JT. Now, this match, basically it just turned into sort of a 1v1 between Stim and Ravens, because 80JT, unsurprisingly, based on their performance in the previous week, did not turn up. Or if they did, they had like 3 players. So it basically turned into a 1v1, and Stim did quite strong against Ravens. They were very, very aggressive with their logistical play, and most of the battle took place around Relic D. They didn't end up completely warp gating Ravens, so good on them for holding out as much as they did. And the Ravens also managed a really good last-second steal at Relic I in the beginning of the match. So overall, it went pretty well. The final result of the match was Stim came first, Ravens came second, and 80JT came third. We move on to match 2. Match 2 was THOC, or THOC, who have an outfit tag that's something like CZCS, with Catcher, who's the outfit tag of WIPL, and HHV, I can't remember the VS tag, but it's HHQ something. It's the VS version of the HH community, which is a massive Chinese community for PlanetSide 2. This match, it didn't have a lot of coverage, but there wasn't a lot of contest in the match either. Catcher turned up with a full team. THOC had a very partial team, but the guys who did turn up did give it an honest go. And HHVS also had a very weak turnout. So Catcher basically took an easy win against underpopulated teams in this match, unfortunately. Match 3 we have, this is a good one from last week. So match 3 was Doggy Commandos, or Dog, versus RWCN versus CNVA. Now, I predicted this match would go RWCN, CNVA, Dog, and I was wrong. I love a good upset in esports. So Dog managed to increase their attendance numbers 130%, which sounds a lot more impressive than they went from 4 people to 8 people. RWCN fielded a full team, and ASZH fielded a full team as well. The match opened with some serious big braid play from Dog, where they dropped pretty much an entire armory's worth of light anvils in front of the enemy warp gates right before the match started. After that, Dog pushed the VS early, and the VS team revealed their massive big brain master plan, which was to completely ignore any of the relics and objectives in favor of trying to build a big base dead center in the middle of the 4 relics in front of them, which was relics A, B, G, and H. They just didn't try to capture any objectives. They just spent the whole time building. This was an entire platoon of VS, by the way. This ultimately paid off, however. 15 minutes later, they were able to deploy a single orbital strike to defend their own relic B, which destroyed their sites and allowed the TR to capture the relic. This was also in the middle of a massive rain of Dog dropping light anvils on top of the same relic. So, you know, it went pretty well. They also managed the VS also managed quite a good tactical play of using a single stealth flash to destroy a prowler that was far away on the other side of the map. RWCN, on the other hand, just decided that they actually wanted to win at video games, and so they actually captured the objectives. So RWCN more or less just waited to win that one. Doge did try to cap relics here and there. They were basically just going for second. And that was that match, more or less. So RWCN won. Doge managed to get second, and CNVA, with a full platoon of 48 players, decided that the objectives were for other people to worry about. So that was match 3. It was quite interesting to watch. Moving on to match 4, we have BMLX Blue Moonlight, HHTR, which is the HH community's TR outfit, and Black Sun Empire BSNE. I actually got a chance to look up the online rosters on FISU during this match. HHTR had about 21 members online, and Black Sun Empire had 20 members online, and there's no guarantee that all of those members were on Desolation. So BML basically got a free win, and that's pretty much it. There wasn't a huge amount of coverage for this match, but there wasn't really much to watch. So hopefully tomorrow we get to see BMLX fight. They've had a really raw deal recently, where the first week they got double teamed by 2 HH teams on opposite sides, and then last week they basically got that free win. So next week, hopefully we get to see them fight an organized group. Moving on to match 5, there is some spice in this one. So this one was a repeat match. The same outfits played the same match, and so this match was a total run back. And unsurprisingly, both of the teams focused very hard on focusing the winner of the last match, which was AMXE. So AMXE bought a whole team, HHNC bought a whole team, and now this is where it gets spicy. SC Boy 9025, the outfit tag 1908, typically a bunch of pilots. A lot of them were flying for Overthreat on the TR roster. However, SC Boy 25 in the last week recruited about 24 players, and a lot of them were from the outfit 48ED. Now, what happened in this match was both the NC and the TR very heavily focused on the VS. There was very little combat between the NC and the TR in this match. To their credit, the VS team, AMXE, did extremely well. They actually managed to come second despite that, and it was only by about 40 points, so it wasn't too bad, to be honest, but they did unfortunately suffer the double team there. So I'm very interested to see if that SC Boy 25, the 1908 team, retains those players for the rest of the Outfit Wars, or if this was something that was a bit more personal than... So yeah. Alright, match 6. Match 6 was more or less a total non-event. Match 6 was SRGD versus Loot Lee TR versus the Thunder Cougar Falcon Birds. The TR didn't turn up, and the NC had about 3 players total. So DCFB just basically ghost capped and waited to win, and a lot of the guys used their recent experience in Valheim to build a long wall in front of the NC Warp Gate. It was very glorious. It was a total snooze fest and wasn't really worth watching. So we moved to match 7. Match 7 was WTFG versus Overthreat versus Gunsu Idon Honpo. So Gunsu was a Japanese team on VS, and they accidentally entered, but they decided to give it an honest go. Overthreat bought a full team, as we've covered before, and WTFG was somehow an outfit that entered the whole system but only had 16 players. So WTF, they did turn up with a few players, and they did play, as did Gunso Udon Honpo. They bought about 2 squads, but Overthreat had a full team, so they won, basically. It was a bit of a clowny match here and there. Overthreat was doing stuff like just waiting at routers for people to spawn in and not finishing off the router and all this sort of stuff. The Udon guys definitely had a lot of fun. They really partied hard in the Warp Gate afterwards. And during the match, they basically just had a little armor column rolling around, and they used Colossus to shoot down some aircraft. It looked pretty good. They had fun. That's I guess that's what you can ask for with this sort of thing. But the final result, obviously, was Overthreat came first, Gunsu second, and then WTFG last. No, I'm wrong, sorry. Overthreat was first, WTFG was second, and Gunsu was last, because Gunsu spent more time in tanks than on point. We move to match 8. NCJP versus DBTM versus RTBG. This was a total snooze fest of a match because all three of those outfits were basically non-entries on the roster. NCJP turned up with a very few players. RTBG turned up with even fewer, and no one. So the only major highlight from this match was watching an Ant Road Killer Lightning, and that was about the only coverage this match got. The final result of this match was NCJP came first, RTBG, and then DBTM came last. We move on to match 9, which is the last one from last week. The only team that turned up was Celestial Being. The outfit tag is FHRE. The other two, QGJT and EMT, were complete and utter no-shows. They did a bit of casual dogfighting while they waited to win, but there was nothing notable about this match at all. So, yeah, there was quite a few empty matches here and there. There were a few competitive ones. Mostly the one with Stim, Last, Ravens, Clock, Catcher, and HH, and the Doge match were all right, and match number 5 was good too. So it was okay. There were some of those are worth rewatching if you really want to get your hands on some Soltech esports. Otherwise, we're going to move to the future. So the future is next week, the first week of playoffs. So this week in playoffs, they've introduced the victory point system, which is what those little gem looking things next to the outfit names are. So everyone got seeded based on how well they performed during the qualifiers. So match 1, I'll go through the matches pretty quickly. What to expect. So match 1, I'm gonna try avoid making like concrete predictions like I did last time. I'm just gonna try and rank which teams I think are the strongest, rather than who I think is going to win, because as we've seen in the last week, it doesn't the double team can become very real and matches can go any kind of way. So I'm just gonna rank the teams I think are strongest, but however they turn out, I can make accurate predictions. Planet side being the way it is. Alright, so match 1, we've got Stim versus Catcher versus TCFB. So this match is more or less a runback of week 1, except the TR outfit, in week 1 it was Overthreat, and in this week it will be Catcher. Catcher have not had a real opponent yet. Both of their wins that they had in the qualifiers were against low population turnouts or no-shows. So I'll be interested to see how Catcher go now that they've got actual people to fight against. It should be a good match. That one looks like a whole team for each turning up, and I think it'll be well worth the time to sort of. We move on to match 2, which is Blue Moonlight versus RWCN versus Animus Makana, AMXE. I have a small correction for Blue Moonlight last week. I didn't really know much about them, and fortunately I got a little bit of information from Time Trooper. BMLX is a Chinese outfit that has actually existed since the original Planet side. So it's really cool to see that they're quite so long standing, and that they're participating in the outfit war here as well. So aside from that, we also have RWCN, who's the Zerg fit, and AMXE, who, as we've explained, is probably one of the probably the stack fit on Soltech. I think everybody expects them to win it pretty easily. But last week, we did see that they can get double teamed and struggle, so who knows? Who knows? I think that this match, AMXE will be the pace setters, and then BMLX will probably be pretty close. But I don't know how it's going to go with RWCN. They only really fought against the ASZH guys last week, and that VS team completely threw it. Meanwhile, you also had Doge on the other side being agents of chaos. So RWCN, I don't know how they're going to perform against these teams, but I'm interested to see what they come up with. So we'll move on to match 3. We've got, this one looks like a bit of a wash, really. It's Ravens versus Black Sun Empire versus NCJP, or the new conglomerate Japan community. They haven't been fielding a full team, and neither has Black Sun Empire, so I'm pretty sure that Ravens have got this one pretty handily. So unfortunate that it's one of those matchups still as we move into playoff thing, but hopefully as more and more outfits get eliminated, this sort of thing will occur less and less. So we'll move to match 4. Match 4, we have Doge versus SC Boy 25 versus HHVS. So Doge have got a pretty good meme run going up this ladder with second place every match. This week, it'll be interesting to see if the players who went to play for the SE Boy outfit in the last match stay and play again, or if they were just there to play specifically against one of the other outfits in that match. So SE Boy might not turn up, or they might turn up with like maybe a squad and a half or 2 squads. HHVS have turned up one week and not really turned up another week, so who knows where what's gonna go on with them. So yeah, Doge actually have a very long shot. If Stim lose their match and Doge win this match, Doge could actually move up to the top of the ladder for next week, which is comedy gold. Regardless, that match is going to be a clown fiesta, so it could be worth a watch if you want a nice little palate cleanse from all the hardcore planet side that's going to be going on this weekend. Moving on to match 5, we've got Overthreat versus THOC versus ATJT. They are pretty much another free win for Overthreat. THOC have been turning up and giving it a go, but not very many members, like around 20. So I don't expect that those guys are gonna be a big win. And ATJT are a straight up ghost entry, so they're probably not going to get any points out of this match. They basically didn't turn up last week, and I think on the first week they turned up with like 3 people. So that one's match 5 is probably going to be a bit of a wash in favor of Overthreat. Then we have the last one for this week, which is match 6. This is going to be WTFG versus HHTR versus Celestial Being, or FHRE. So FHRE have turned up consistently into their matches, just that they've either turned up against completely full teams or a completely empty field, and they more or less have got like 8 people who turn up, if at all. So I suspect that this match, comically enough, this match has 3 outfits that are more or less destined to get eliminated, but because they're all on that same thing and one of them has to win, that one that's going to win is actually going to go right up the ladder to some degree, and I'm quite interested to see if that upsets one of the Empire's ladders particularly much. So matches to watch by time, I'll go over. So on the 4 AM on Friday, the only match available to watch is the Doge SC Boy HHVS match, and that one's worth watching. Just, something funny to watch. It's the only one in this time slot. It might not necessarily be the most competitive match, but it could have the potential for 3 like even but undermanned teams. So I think it might. You never know. It might actually be. 4:30 after that one, we have 2 matches. You have the THOC Overthreat and ATJT match, which is probably not worth watching, as it's going to mostly be the Overthreat win that one. And then the other match at that time slot is match 1, which is Stim, Catcher, and TCFB, which I think will be probably one of the good ones this weekend. Should be 3 whole teams. Stim and TCFB have faced each other before, and Catcher has yet to sort of find themselves against a fully organized opposition. So it should be a really interesting match to watch. I'm quite excited for that one. I guess I'll be playing. I'm biased. So then, moving on to Saturday. We have 4 AM, match 2. We have Blue Moonlight versus RWCN versus AMXE. I think this will be another good match to watch. All 3 of these guys have been pulling full teams, and AMXE and BMLX are among the best of their empires. RWCN have got there from the qualifiers with a win against a ghost team, and by beating the ASZH team last week, who were up against Doge as well, which it was just a real clowny match. But RWCN took the win there. And I think a lot of it's because the VS team they played against completely threw it in the most legendary fashion I've seen. So I'm interested to see how RWCN stack up against these two outfits. It should be quite an interesting match there. The other match that's on at that time is match 6, which is WTFG, HHTR, and FHRE. It's probably not worth watching. Those two teams, all of those teams have had low or no turnout. FHRE have been the most consistent amongst those teams of having low to no turnout. But, you know, it's what it is. And then lastly on 4:30 on the Saturday, you've got the new conglomerate Japan Community versus Last Ravens versus Black Sun Empire. The NC outfit on that team hasn't been bringing a whole group. Black Sun Empire has kind of been bringing groups, but about like 20-ish. So I strongly suspect that Ravens are going to be the ones to win this one. So it should be a pretty easy win for them. All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of a second to talk about the ladder, just generally per empire. So you've got TCFB and AMX are the only two groups on VS who've consistently been bringing close to full teams. The other one was ASZH, who got eliminated last week. So the other groups that are on the VS ladder more or less have been getting matched against partial or no-shows. So I fully expect that the AMX group will be gold team this year, and TCFB will be silver for VS. If I had to make a guess for bronze, it'll either be Black Sun Empire or HHVS. So pretty much it. Aside from the only thing that can really upset that match is if HH take a win in their match against SC Boy and Doge, and that really requires them to actually turn up, which they should be capable of. But who knows? They've been surprisingly flaky this last week in the qualifiers on all of their factions. And on top of that, it also requires that TCFB and AMXE both lose the matches thoroughly, which I doubt will happen on the AMXE side. Who knows where it'll go with TCFB? That could be an match. So yeah, the TR roster, they have 4 full roster teams: the Catcher, RWCN, Last Ravens, and Overthreat. Those 4 teams are full teams. So as far as that ladder looks, Ravens look like they're going to get an easy 3 points this week, and that could potentially match them against Stim or BMLX for the NC, or TCFB and AMX on VS next week. Overthreat also has an easy shot at 5th place, depending on how RWCN performs in their match. It seems like they kind of lost a lot of steam on the ladder because they had the 3rd place in the first round of qualifiers. But I think Overthreat's definitely got what it takes to get at least into the top 4. Like, obviously they're in the top 4. They're one of the 4 that turned up with a team. But yeah, I think the Overthreat's got a chance to bring it back for sure. Other than that, SC Boy might be competitive this week, but it really depends on if the roster that they recruited last week turns up, and even then it's only going to be like a half measure. And that match is number 4 is the Clowny match. So who knows what's going to happen with the TR ladder from that one as a result. Moving on to the NC ladder, we got HHNC got eliminated in the qualifiers because they got matched against Amex twice. So the NC has only got 2 full teams on the roster, Stim and Blue Moonlight. I expect Stim to be the gold team. I expect Blue Moonlight to be the silver team. And interestingly enough, because of the Clowny matchup, Doge might, if they can win it, and if Stim lose their match, Doge could actually make it to 1st place roster for next week, which would let's go. Alright, but overall, considering there's a pretty weak turnout of NC outfits this season, I actually think Doge's got a legit shot at getting the bronze place for this season, if only because the other outfits are sort of weak or no shows, and Doge has managed to consistently overperform with such a small roster. Fun. So that's more or less all I have to go about it today with the rambling. So thank you for your time. If you think this sucked, if you enjoyed it, whatever, please let me know. I'm interested in feedback. I'll probably do this for the next 4 weeks. So have a good afternoon, evening, whatever. Bye.